before the line. So I feel very I feel a bit of sympathy there for Reece Walsh. There's actually a bit of talk afterwards in the press conference with Michael Maguire about just whether it was a bit of a rocks and diamonds night for Reece. He made a few errors there, but again comes up as a 40-20. The cutout pass to Arthurs for the try. We've got some audio from Michael Maguire from last night's press conference.
Yeah, Reece will be right. I've had plenty of players, in situations like that, he'll be fine. He's just got to work his way through it. We know, what he can bring to the team, and every now and then a player goes through a little bit of that. It's not uncommon for what I've seen in coaching, and he's just got to work his way through that, and he'll be fine.
The other thing about Reece, he reminds me so much of Billy when he first came in as a young player. You make mistakes. When you're playing at that speed, you make mistakes. And you expect him to make mistakes. What he will learn, I think, Reece, as he gets older, is that he'll be able to taper that in at different periods of the game when you can manage the game a little bit more. At the moment, he is a kid and is playing at breakneck speed, and he's going to make mistakes. But I don't mind some of the mistakes he's making, because what he's trying to do is he's trying to add some excitement and some entertainment to the game as well. So I'm all right with it now. If he's still doing it when he's 26, 27, 28, well, you've got a little bit of a concern then. But that just comes down to good coaching. A mixed night, as Michael Maguire just said. He had a really good 40-20, come up with five mistakes as well, which I think we can accept.
I reckon Walsh is probably a victim of all the success he had early on. It's just been such a phenomena in the last few years, obviously leading up to that grand final a couple of years ago with Penrith. Adam Reynolds also had something to say about Reece Walsh. Let's have a listen.
Yeah, we continually work hard at our craft at training. It will turn. I thought he was good tonight. I thought he ran the ball strong into the line. He organised the D. He's scrambling across in the corner to save tries. We sort of sit there and nitpick at the little mistakes that he makes, but there's a lot of great things that he's doing as well. So, like Matt said, that'll change. We'll keep working hard, and no doubt he'll come out of this.
Yeah, they'll know how to get him through. But on that man, Adam Reynolds, as you said, great controlled night. He's now passed Jared Croker into third position for points all time behind Hazem El Masri and the great Cam Smith.
He just keeps going and going and going.
Yep.
When he won his the comp with South
2014. Early 20s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know, South, there's always going to be a lot of debate about whether South should have let him go, but the way that he played last night would suggest that he should have stayed there. But they're the decisions they make, clubs, and you've got to live by them.
You mentioned Ezra Mam earlier on. Where does he come back into the equation?
I've got to say, if Hunt and Reynolds are playing like they did last night, then you have to stay with them.
He's playing Queensland Cup. When he comes back, I've got no doubt Michael Maguire, even though he's doing all the training at the moment, there's a difference between on-field training and also match fitness. He will play Queensland Cup if there's no injuries and Broncos are going okay. Even if the Broncos have got a couple of losses and he comes back, he'll still play Queensland Cup or Host Plus Cup for a number of weeks to get some match fitness, get some timing back, get used to making contact in the game as well, get used to making 2 and 3 tackles in a row. All of that's got to happen before Michael Maguire, I think, will even look at him.
But also, you've got to earn your position back into the team.
Exactly right.
I don't think there's, it depends where he's, what his salary is, or what do you see? He could make an impact off the bench.
Oh yeah, he doesn't matter. Well, in the modern game, some positions and some players, it doesn't matter what number you wear on your back. You just go on and just provide energy. Brandon Smith's like that. Just come on, just pick up the energy of the side and push up in support, all those sorts of things. So he could definitely play a 14 role if Broncos are winning. And they're carrying Billy Walters there at the moment, who can play hooker and half and 5'8". Ezra could probably do the same, but if they're winning, they'll keep the same 17.
The Cows.
Yeah, the Cows. Like I said, I think Toddy Payten, although really disappointed that they lost the game, at least they were in the fight. They showed some courage, and I thought it was the game they needed early on the season after 2 losses. Now they're 0-3, not ideal. The pressure will keep mounting, and Todd Payten knows that. Every coach knows that in the NRL.
That's right.
It's no new story when a team's not winning. But what I like about it is they got in the fight. They stayed in the fight. Jackson Purdue, I've got to say, outstanding young talent. And he's not even a centre.
What do you think of Clifford at halfback?
He was better.
I thought he was much better. I thought they looked a bit more, had a bit more direction with him there.
I'm a huge fan of Tom Duffy, and I've seen a fair bit of Tom Duffy, and I think he'll play a lot of first grade. But I thought Clifford, especially with his kicking game, he's got this monstrous boot. It's
That's right.
Matt Burton-like.
Yeah.
And to see him like just perch Brisbane well back in their half and having to work their way off a try line, at least you're in the hunt when that happens. So yeah, I think the big red dog Clifford was really good.
And Jason Taumalolo came back and started. What do you think of his performance?
I thought he was okay.
Yeah, he was pretty good. I thought he brought a fair bit of energy there.
Yep.
Much better. So Todd Payten survives for another week.
Yeah.
They had the axe out there just a couple of weeks ago, or even last week. I actually spoke to Todd Payten. He seemed to be pretty comfortable about where he was at. I love Todd Payten press conferences because he is so brutally honest and says.
Do you get lost in his eyes?
Not really.
They're
very intense.
He's got beautiful eyes.
They're very intense eyes.
Yeah.
He looks like he still play, Big Toddy.
Do you know, he used to say he was a halfback in a front row's body.
Oh, God.
And also, when he was playing, he used to always call himself the best dancer over 105 kilos.
Oh, God, wrap yourself.
He doesn't like hearing that now as a coach.
No. So our colleague Peter Bedell up there, Sneaky Pete, asked him, are you under pressure? And this is what Todd Payten had to say.
I'm worried about my sanity, but that's about it. The job is the job. We feel under pressure as a club, to be fair, and it's justified. So we just, like I said, keep working.
Yeah, he knows, and that's all they can do. They can keep working. Sometimes the harder you work, the worse it gets. Sometimes if you take the reins away, let the reins loose a little bit, it can get worse also. It's about finding that happy medium. He's a smart enough guy, and he knows it comes with the territory.
But there was, like, the dogs were barking about his future after those 5 losses in the middle of last year, and then they make the second week of the finals. Like, I mean, it's not like they're completely legless, and they just give them time. It's a long season. I just think it's open season on coaches far too early this year. In not just in league, but in other codes as well. I just.
So you're saying it's too early to pick our Origin teams?
Yeah, I think it's probably or our test teams, or
Hey, let's get on to the other Friday night game, which is the Warriors up against the Chooks. Now, what did it talk about? You mentioned the word
Exciting.
long. There's been a long break between wins when it comes to the Warriors over the Roosters since 2018. So they ended an 8-game losing streak against the Chookies. I've got to say, turning point. While injured, hamstring injury, somehow found his way. Roger Tuivasa-Sheck, the tackle.
Incredible.
Amazing. Yeah. Amazing athlete.
It was.
Yeah.
And the fact that he'd tried to make 2 tackles previously with it.
Yep.
And he was trying to stop the 40-20 but couldn't because he's hamstring, but then stopped a try. So, that's pretty special from RTS.
Yep. Doesn't surprise you from one of the most exciting players. Andrew Webster, post-game, he actually had something to say about that very effort.
I always felt like we were in striking distance, and even sometimes I felt like we were physically the better team. Sometimes I didn't feel like we were, but felt like we were finding a way to stop plays and come up with the right, like a big moment. Like they went for a 40-20. Roger had already torn his hamstring. He misses the 40-20 because he can't, and then he gets back and makes a try save and tackle in the corner when his hamstring's already gone. And like those big plays, they were happening everywhere, and you need them. Like you just can't come out and everything be fluffy all the time and you just be clinical with every play. You got to earn it, and you got to be tough, and you got to find a way against good clubs. I mean, they've been a dominant club for 30 years.
Yeah, obviously a lean year last year, a great season 2 seasons ago. We don't know where they're at, the Warriors, at the moment. Their Haas partnership is growing nicely. Of course, they're forging a nice combination, Luke Metcalf and Chanel Harris-Tavita. But we're not quite sure where the Warriors are.
I thought Harris-Tavita was incredible last night. He's a great player to watch. Remember, he took the year off.
Yep.
Came back, he
did the right poetry and paint.
But I really admire that he did that. And he's come back. I know it was a lean year for him last year, but he's played well so far this year. Charles Nickel-Costed, Ali Leotiti, he is an absolute beast.
Yep.
He has a massive head, and he has a massive body, and he scored 2 tries. Last night, I thought he was fantastic for the Warriors.
They got some really good young players coming through. Halasema and a host of really good young players that are coming through. Now we all think it's post Sean Johnson is always going to be difficult when a legend steps down, but they're doing a good job at the moment in the shadow of Sean Johnson. He was such a prominent player for so many years for the Warriors and New Zealand Rugby League as the poster boy. The way that he finished his last game against the Sharks last year, his last play was to set up a try to win the game. other than winning a comp, no better way to finish your career in your last game. But I think they're doing a good job. They're doing a good job at managing it. But some of these really young players, like Ali, how you just mentioned there, and also young Hallisema and a group of them, those Warriors players coming through. If Andrew Webster can hold all that together, they're doing a pretty good job.
I was worried about them after the way Canberra went through them in Las Vegas.
Yeah.
But the last 2 weeks, there's a sign of a top 8 team there. So well done, Warriors.
Yeah, and we've got plenty more to come. We're also going to review Thursday night's game because plenty came out of that Thursday night game between the Melbourne Storm and the Panthers. Most notably, the injury to Nathan Cleary, but also the way that Panthers side, they dragged themselves off the canvas and got themselves back into that game when that game could have gone either way. Melbourne could have put a cricket score on them at that stage, but they found something. Melbourne Storm, on the other hand, still looking like they're one of the teams to really beat in this competition. So we're going to talk about that. We're going to talk about Tommy Trbojevic. We're going to talk about the Dragons' try celebrations. Also, the big story throughout the week has been Brandon Smith as well and his signing at the South Sydney Rabbitohs. So plenty more to come on Saturday League kickoff. And this is all brought to you by Wing House, the best seats and the beers, always guaranteed. Make sure you get involved in the show. 0457 736 736. You can text us, or if you want to give us a call, 1300 01 1170. And thank you to all our viewers on Fox League and also our listeners on SEN. Welcome back to Saturday League Kickoff, simulcast live on Fox League and SEN Radio right across the country. Welcome back. Hope you're enjoying the first hour. We certainly did. Plenty to talk about, of course, and let's talk about Thursday night's game because it was a great game. It built up all week, didn't it? I feel as though the Panthers leading into that Roosters game, take nothing away from the Roosters in round 2, beating the Panthers the way they did. But I believe the Panthers, they're only human. All these rugby league players, doesn't matter how successful you are, you're not robots. But I think they would have had an eye on this Melbourne game the following Thursday. And when they get there, well, they started off slow. And Ivan Cleary would be the first to admit that. But 30 points to 24 in favour of the Storm. The Storm were great in that opening period. Again, the big talking point out of that was Nathan Cleary going down with that pretty nasty head collision with the ground. I thought he was trying to get out of the way of Jack Cole, and as he did that, made a collision with Jerome Hughes. Now, Jerome Hughes, in the meantime, has got to undergo surgery on a hand, which is going to be
2 weeks.
2 weeks?
2 weeks, they said. There's a fair bit of damage out of that game for the Storm.
Yeah.
So he's 2 weeks. Nick Meaney, 6 weeks with a broken face, thanks to Nelson Asofa Solomona, who is in concussion protocols from the same tackle because he took out his own teammate. Is Nas? I love him. He's one of my favourite players because he's always something going on. I don't know if I'd be as happy with him if I was Craig Bellamy. Is he becoming a bit of a liability?
Well, the short answer is yes, but you need them in your side. Now that they've got
a bit of insanity.
Well, everyone needs someone in their side when you're going to run onto a ball. You just take a look up and you see who's in the defensive line. For me, it was Ruben Wiki.
Oh,
I used to have nightmares.
I don't think you're the Lone Ranger there.
I always have nightmares the night before playing Ruben Wiki.
Did he get you many times?
Yeah, plenty of times. So, him and Gordy. So, when you're running onto the ball, you sort of look up and see where someone is. Everyone needs one of those guys in their side. And I think for the Melbourne Storm, it's definitely Nelson. Mm. So, the short answer is yes, he's a liability. But 2, I think they go into each season hoping that he's not going to spend any time on the sideline, but knowing he probably will. But the signing of Stefano Utoikamanu fills that void a little bit more.
Yeah. Who is, you can see, getting better and better with every game.
Yeah.
He always, to me, Stefano just looked like that player. You could tell he's that player that just was going to thrive in that environment with Craig Bellamy. So I expect more and more rep on us for Stefano down the track.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because of the influence of Craig Bellamy. But it was weird though, wasn't it? It was like, so they were up 14-0. I thought anything could happen here, and after Nathan went off, but they hit the front there early in the second half, 16-14, and it was game on before sort of the Storm. So the Storm's class and experience got the better of Penrith, but as I said earlier, it's a moral victory for Penrith.
Yeah, they showed a lot of character. Now, it was a Munster masterclass. He put on a couple of tries, early tackle count kicks, which has become part of their play, actually. They throughout the week, they identify where the fullback is for the Penrith Panthers, and usually it's Dylan Edwards, and this week it was young Thomas Jenkins. And to be able to identify and isolate him and then know that if they're going to put an early kick through the line, that there's going to be no second line of defence. Very smart, great preparation. But Munster was outstanding. I love it. What does my head in the modern game is when your biggest threats are your half and your 5/8 and your fullback. And sometimes we split them in the defence. In the attack, I should say. We've got a half and a 5/8 on either side. They very rarely sort of link up.
Left, right.
Well, the Melbourne Storm do really well is they have Harry Grant passing to Jerome, who passes to Cameron, who then will find an option and somehow inject Ryan Papenhuyzen into the equation as well. That's why they're so potent, because everything they do is at red line. They're on the red line. They're at great intensity. So, and it was tough for Penrith to go with them early on in the game. But isn't it funny when you're 14-0 down and Nathan Cleary goes down and there was a lot of concern. Isaiah Yeo, you can see he was very concerned for his co-captain. But it can deflate you as a side when your key player, your star, goes down. But it actually galvanised them, Webby.
That's the system.
Yeah.
Danny Kemp said it on SEN yesterday. It was like their biggest star at Penrith is the system. And it's such a valid point, because someone goes out, another player comes in. Jenkins was great, I thought, in the absence of Dylan Edwards. I know they went after him, but he held his own. And just a lot of those younger guys who are coming through. My only worry about Penrith is whether they're going to be able to do it right to the end. You know, it just must be getting harder and harder every year. That said, that team, when they hit September, they just go to another gear. And they did it they've done it the last two, I know they've won 4, but particularly the last 2 years when people think, well, you know, they're going to fade away here come September, but they just seem to click into another gear. Yeah. And then they do it in the grand final.
Well, they lost no supporters, I think, on Thursday night. I think they gained some supporters from outside of the rugby league public and the community, because just the way they dug in. Isaiah Yeo, again, your key player goes down. Isaiah Yeo, it's like, you know, your Jack Coles, who's defensively was amazing. Then you got young Jenkins, and you got Casey McLean as well. All these players that haven't played a lot of Liam Henry, who came off. Did you see when he smiled when Nelson took out Nick Meaney, and before he even hit the ground, the young Liam Martin, who they call Horse, who just lives and breathes the game, the kid from Blaney, he looked back at both Nelson and Nick Meaney, had a big Cheshire cat grin on his face.
Good stuff.
So all these young players haven't played a lot of first grade rugby league, but Isaiah Yeo just said, "Jump on my back. Let's do this without Nathan," and they were fantastic.
When you tell me that you're the football expert, when they go to those backline moves, they just look like they're. It's just like it's just so well programmed in them, and it doesn't matter who the player is. Like those sequences, as they call them these days, just seem so slick.
Well, there's a means to an end with Penrith. You know, they get to a point where they know that if everyone sort of floods around in AFL, there's this, you know, the flooding where all these players flood down one. They flood all these players to one side, and then all of a sudden, it just comes down to precision. And you can see how precise they are with everything. Everyone knows how deep they need to be, how long the ball has to be in their hands. The passes are always beautifully out in front. They all sort of fan out towards the sideline. You know, once upon a time when the wingers used to stand right on the chalk, we don't see that now. We see them all fanning out towards the sideline, and it's all down to precision. Melbourne are the same. That's why these teams are so good at what they do. They're beautifully coached, and it's all about the precision.
Okay, I don't want to go back to the dreaded match review committee.
Yes.
Should Cameron Munster have been charged for a hip drop?
So he has no case to answer?
No charge.
I don't think so. I think the hip drop for me is when I'm in contact with you as attack, and my second action is when I actually drop down and drop all my weight down behind you. If I'm in the action of just trying to desperately make a tackle and drag you down, I think it's play on. It's unfortunate if someone gets injured.
I agree, but that's not the interpretation of the NRL.
Exactly.
That's right.
Yeah.
So it's they've created a grey area for themselves already, the NRL and the match review committee, after not charging him. I'm happy for him not to be charged, and I'm happy, and I never want a player to be charged or rubbed out on a technicality like that, but it's going to be interesting to see what happens down the track.
I love a sledge. I love a great sledge when it comes to sport.
Yes.
If it's not questioning integrity or whatever it may be, but from all reports, when Liam Martin and Cam Munster got in each other's face, Liam Martin said, "You're a liability to Cam Munster." I love it.
Is it real or is it just pretend? The feud between the two of them?
No, I think I think there's a genuine feud between the two. I think there's a healthy respect, absolutely.
It'd have to be.
But during that 80 minutes, there's a genuine dislike because both of the top dogs are trying to knock each other off the pedestal.
That's right.
That's what we love about
I
it.
love Liam.
How good is it?
He's one of my favourite players. What's the best sledge you ever copped as a player?
Not the best. Oh, actually, 1995, the very first game of the South Queensland Crushers up against the Premiers, Canberra Raiders. And it was at Lang Park, Suncorp Stadium now. Big crowd. Second Brisbane team. And myself and my former teammate and good mate, Jeff Wittenberg. Of course, his dad, John Fingers Wittenberg, played for Australia back in the 70s.
There you go.
And so, and we're both packing in the scrum. And Ricky wouldn't feed the ball. And he was arguing with the referee. Shout out to Ricky, watching us on Fox League. Sure. And we were saying, just feed the ball, would you? And Mario Fennick was our captain. He said, just feed the ball, Ricky. And I popped my head out of the back of the scrum at lock. I said, just feed the ball, Ricky. And Jeff Wittenberg said, Ricky, just feed the ball. And he looked at both of us and he said, what about you two attempted chips off the old block?
Oh! Good on your stick.
Yeah.
Very
So he was always good on the lip. Old stick.
I can imagine.
Joey was great. Joey was really good on the.
Was he really?
Yeah. I remember Joey one time when he wouldn't feed the ball and Billy Harrigan said, feed the ball, Joey, or I'll penalise you. And a front rower said, yeah, feed the ball, Joey. And he said, your teammates are right. You are a dickhead.
Oh, fantastic. I've actually heard that story.
Yeah, exactly.
So doesn't sound like one of the Johns boys to sledge somebody.
I know, yeah.
What a surprise.
There are some concerns around both Melbourne and Penrith, I think, just defensively. Penrith probably most notably conceded 90 points in 3 rounds.
That's an issue.
Not
for
ideal.
them.
Yeah, not ideal. Not ideal. Hey, let's get to Brandon Smith, I should say. That's been the big news before we get to the break. Okay. We don't think he'll be there before June 30. I don't think salary cap will allow it for South Sydney. And also the Roosters won't want to let a guy who's going to come back from an ACL injury before the finals go to their arch nemesis.
What it just doesn't make sense to me. I know I'm getting inundated from with messages from South fans saying why won't they let him go? The Roosters have paid him, will have paid him for 6 months of his contract.
Yep.
And while he hasn't been available, rehabbed him from his ACL just to get him back on the park to go and maybe help South get into the finals. I don't think that's going to happen.
No, I don't think it will either.
And he's a good player that could do a job for the Roosters in the second half of the season. So I would be stunned if he is let go before June 30.
With Cam Murray coming back next year and Brandon Smith and Jai Arrow and Tavita Totola, it's a good forward pack.
I tell you what, I did notice Latrell back round 5.
I was at South Sydney, their training complex yesterday at Heffron Park. First time I've ever seen it. And I've got to say, I didn't see Latrell, but I saw some images of him while I was there. I know we all talk about how fit he looks, and for me, it's in his skin.
Yeah, I heard he looked super healthy, fit.
Yeah.
Bit like myself.
Yeah. So I think we all agree Brandon Smith is a really good signing for the Rabbitohs. Yeah, tick.
Yes.
2026, not June 30.
If Ben, no, it'll be from next season onwards. But if anyone can get the best out of him, it's got to be Wayne Bennett. So I'm excited about what they can do together next year.
So get involved in the show any stage. 0457 736 736 is our text line. If you want to give us a call, 1300 01 1170 for all our viewers on Fox League and also our listeners on SEN as well. This is Saturday League Kickoff. Scotty Sattler, Andrew Webster. Hope you're enjoying the content because we love delivering it to you. Like I said earlier on, the first time on a Saturday morning, you can give your opinion as well. If you want to get involved in the show, 0457 736 736 or give us a call, 1300 01 1170. Do you like your sound when you listen to your recorder? No one likes the sound of their own voice, do they?
No, not at all.
We love the sound of your voice, so give us a call. Okay, here on
I love the sound of your voice.
Saturday League
Satts,
Kickoff. Scott
your
Sattler,
dulcet tones.
Andrew Webster. We're going to get stuck into Tommy Trbojevic. Okay.
Why? What's he done to you?
He's done nothing to me. I love the Trbojevic family. I love everything they do for our game of rugby league. It's amazing.
Even Jake last week. Did you see when the sideline commentator said, you got the yellow card? Why did you storm up the tunnel? He said, well, that's what I've got to do.
That's what I've got to do.
It's very diplomatic.
And there's no yellow cards in rugby league.
I know. Even then,
good.
he was like, he just looked a bit confused.
Yeah.
He always looks like got a confused look on his face.
That story when they've played outside of Sydney, and they'll get a flight home if they play Friday night. They get a flight home early, the Trbojevic boys, so apparently they can go to their junior club to help do the barbecue and help out in the cafeteria.
That sounds like them to a T. They're a good style of
well done, Mr.
family.
and Mrs. Trbojevic. You've raised
done
your
well.
family very
you
well.
You have.
Let's get on to Tom Trbojevic because set to miss another game. Well, he was named this week, but I think we all knew that with his history of tightness of hamstrings, no tear from all reports from the scans, but he's going to miss this game on the weekend against the Raiders, which I've got to say is one of those teams you really never want to come up against early on the season. They've got the ability to beat you up a little bit. So
and they're flying.
Yeah,
they're going good.
Yeah,
It'll be happy Ricky at the moment.
Yeah, exactly. Tommy Trbojevic. Now, for everyone, and there are some concerns, but
conservative approach is what the club said. You're taking it easy. So, but Turbo's just going to have to deal with this for the rest of his career, isn't he?
Now, the biggest question is, do they move him from fullback? That's never going to happen. I think everyone needs to get that out of their brain. It's a little bit like Latrell coming back in a few weeks. Yesterday at the press conference, for more reports, someone said, what happens with Jai Gray, Wayne? And Wayne said, well, he can work in the cafeteria, he can help fill the bottles, whatever it may be. He could even be Reggie Rabbit, he said.
God, that was stupid, that discussion. Should we bring back, when Latrell comes back, should we keep Jai Gray at fullback? With the greatest of respect to Jai Gray, you're not playing Latrell anywhere but fullback.
Yeah. I think Jai Gray will play a 14 role, absolutely. But in saying that, it does raise the question around fullbacks. Now, we're seeing the fullback, the model of the fullback now is once upon a time it was 6'3", 6'4", big body bringing the ball back, your Jack Whitens, your Latrell Mitchells, your Tommy Trbojevics. Now we start seeing Jai Gray, Keanu Kinney, Reece Walsh, Connor Tracy. It's starting to change a little bit because that fourth tackle and the fifth tackle, we're seeing that those little fullbacks coming in and taking and just causing disruption with the front rowers.
Well, don't you reckon you do? Like it's and then you got Teddy, who is like a little stocky pinball, doing everything basically on the field whenever the ball comes his way. Just back to we've seen what Turbo can do at fullback. At centre for New South Wales and Australia. Do you think he's not possible? It's not possible to move him there.
I
love him as a fullback. I think
they could.
It's that's where he won his Dally M, and that's what his natural position is. But if there's more longevity for him playing at centre, then I'm sure Anthony Seibold and Turbo's discussed it.
They could. At Origin level, it's a little bit different. You've got all these elite players that know how to get him the ball. And with no disrespect to the players that are playing with him on a week-to-week basis, it's a little bit more difficult, if that makes sense. If he leaves his post and starts going homing around the middle of the field, you've then got to have a back row that can handle attacking in the centres. They've got to move sort of one more wide. So I'd be apprehensive about moving him. He's 50% of their games since 2019 that he's missed. So he's playing half a season. And I think the Manly go in there a little bit like Nelson Asafa Solomona, I think. Two completely different discussions, but I think they go in thinking that they're going to lose him for a period of the year. The difference is young Lehigh Hopewadi goes back. He's a pretty handy player.
That's what I mean. They've got a possible option. I remember I sat down with Turbo on the eve of last season for an interview. I went, mate, I'm going to have to talk about your hamstrings. And I said, how do people stop you on the street? He goes, wherever he goes, there's two things. One, they ask how his hamstrings are, and two, they want to talk about the sprint down the Manly course.
Do we blame him, Harry?
Who?
He's the guy that he raced.
He raced. But
do we blame him?
No, because it apparently didn't happen there.
Oh,
Harry said he slipped it in the shower.
That's right.
But he said he always gets asked about the sprint at the Corso.
Hey, can you do an interview with? I don't know whether you remember back in the 70s. Someone did.
I didn't interview anyone in the 70s. I wasn't born.
I think you're telling a few fibs there. But
75.
There was a story. Correct me if I'm wrong. Okay. There was a story back in the 70s where they interviewed Malcolm Reilly's knee.
Oh, did they?
Yeah.
That old trick.
Yeah. So
what did his knee have to say?
Can you do an interview with
did
his
it say
hamstrings?
with his hammies?
Yeah.
Not a bad idea.
Someone ideas, man.
I reckon Malcolm Reilly's knees had more to say than Malcolm Reilly.
Yep.
Because he wasn't a quote machine, old Malcolm.
So you can catch the coverage of the Seagulls versus the Raiders at 4 Points Park live from 6 p.m. on SEN as well, SEN League. Now, do you agree that they won't move him for fullback? I don't think they will, and I don't think they should.
No. I want him. That's where he plays his best footy.
Yeah.
I love him when he's running through the middle with the ruck there. That's like, he's pretty awesome to stop.
And we're not concerned about Daly's bad back.
No.
What I read,
Give him 2 years, Manly. Give him the 2 years.
What-
You know what someone tried to tell me? I haven't been able to work this out. Apparently, Daly Cherry Evans hasn't even asked for the 2 years. So this is the bloody media stirring up a beehive.
Is this what you do?
I don't do it,
Is this hey?
but some of my colleagues have been known to do it.
Now, you're a Dragons fan, so I don't know whether you're going to tread lightly here.
I don't say fan, more sufferer.
Suffer.
Probably the term that I would use.
I've got to say, the hill at Jubilee, Cogra and Wynn Stadium down at Wollongong, outstanding, amazing.
Those
But-
signs, the best signs in the business.
Yeah, but Tuipulotu. Now, throughout the week, we've seen the first 2 rounds, he's been show me the money. He scored 5 tries in 2 games, pretty impressive. He scored that first try against the Bulldogs, did the show me the money, then went on to score 2 more and put him in a position where they could possibly win the game. So you know where I'm going here. But
I do.
Throughout the week, Shane Flanagan has said no more try celebrations. His son Kyle did the baby
I think he
celebration.
just said it for Christian.
Just Christian.
Yeah.
So
What you? Oh, do you want me to say? What, you
no,
know what
well,
I think?
listen.
You tell me what you
people
think.
call me a dinosaur, okay, and
You are.
they would expect me to say,
You're significantly
nah,
older
you
than me
shouldn't
too.
celebrate. But I'm the opposite. I think if that's what gives him energy, that's what motivates him, that's what gets him up. I'm saying go for it, but you got to be able to handle what comes at you from the other side.
Gordon Tallis had a great line on 360. If he scores an 80-metre try to win the game, that's fair enough.
Yeah.
But as a Dragons fan, I want not show me the money, show me the wins. Show me the wins, and then you can start doing
I
it.
tell you what, but there'd be some clubs who want a big outside back, a big winger, and even though he's doing
we're
all
not
this,
getting rid of him.
No, well, if you pigeonhole and turn a player into a
But
robot,
he did it the other week there when we were down
18-0.
by like 18-0, and it's like
but he went on to score 3 in a row.
I know, that's all, but what do you say? If you can't score him without doing this? Come on.
But that's what makes him. That's what drives him.
That's what makes him
Giving it to the
try
crowd.
celebration.
It's a little like Martin Afai doing that to an empty Sydney football stadium when he was there for the Roosters. Remember that?
I do like a good try celebration.
So I'm loving it.
but
So if he scores a winning try against
I
Melbourne
tell you
next
what,
week,
the
you reckon
only way I'll cop it is if they get a sponsor and he's allowed to do it.
there you go, third party deal.
See that?
And if he scores a winning try against Melbourne next week in round 4, are you going to accept if he gets up and celebrates?
If it's a winning try, yes.
Winning try?
That's about it.
Okay.
Good. Flano's old school. I'm okay with it.
Yep.
I don't think he's the fun police.
What do you think? 0457 736 736 or give us a call. 1300 01 1170 is our open line. Saturday League kickoff on a Saturday. Myself, Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster. Coming up next, we're trying to get to some of your texts. Saturday League kickoff, and this is the first hour, and getting some great text messages as well. We've got Jack in Penrith said, loving this early morning show, guys, on a Saturday. It's absolutely perfect. Timbo from the Central Coast, Webby and Satts, loving the new segments as well. Thank you very much for all your support. We're going to continue, and but we've still got more to go as well. We're going to have Andrew Webster coming up. Not you, Andrew Webster. You're
Me
still
interviewing
coming up
myself. My
in the
various
second
personalities.
hour. But the other Andrew Webster,
The great Andrew Webster, the Warriors coach.
Yeah.
Good.
So apparently,
I got a photo with him in Vegas. It was like a long time coming. It was like twins. We're so
apparently
similar in many ways.
he gets a lot of your text messages.
We have this conversation. I have this conversation with him all the time. I get a cold chill, and he goes, "I got a text that was supposed to be for you delivered to me," and I go, "Oh my God, what could that be?" In grand final week a few years ago, Ivan actually sent me a whole stack of information in grand final week, and it was like, wrong one, buddy.
What do I do with this?
And I did the right thing and deleted it after I picked the eyes out of it and then used it at a later date.
Good
no,
stuff.
I did not.
What are you looking forward to this weekend?
I'm in love with the Raiders at the moment. I love watching them
I'm the
play.
same.
Yeah, I can't wait. Tom Starling, big Corey Horsburgh, big Red. He's just the way that he's been playing for a bloke who was disgruntled apparently during the off season is pretty special.
I love the way the Raiders handled that. I'm looking forward to the Raiders as well, about how they're going to go away from Canberra. Manly's a tough place to win. Brookie was always a tough place to win back in the day. Parochial crowd, but also on the flip side of that, Manly. Again, just without Tommy and Lehigh Hopewadi, how he'll go filling in that role.
Should be a special game.
Yeah, it'll be very special. Hey, thank you to all of you also. If you join us on Fox League, that's it. That's half time for Saturday League kickoff. But we are going to go through to a second hour. If you want to listen to the show, you can do that through SEN on the SEN app Wherever you get your apps from, just download the app. It's very simple. As I said, coming up next, we're going to have Warriors coach Andrew Webster, and also more of your texts, calls, and plenty more from round 3 of the National Rugby League. What a great way to finish the first hour. If you're here for the second hour, thank you for staying. Hope you enjoyed the first hour. Hope you enjoyed my sign-off at the end of the first hour. I apologise for that, I've got to say. I wasn't calling you Andrew Webster.
No, you were. I felt like you were talking to me directly, actually.
Oh.
It was one of the great moments in broadcasting, I've got to say.
I'm not going to hear the end of it.
You aren't.
Lundy on our text line says, you're never going to hear the end of that on Sports Day throughout the week. I don't think I'm going to hear the end of it through SEN for a number of weeks.
I've been getting text messages from my family, my mum. That was a classic from Satts. My father, what just happened? And my nephew, was that horse you said I should back going to win today in the Golden Slipper?
The Golden Slipper today, of course.
Tempted, get on.
Yeah, if you are just joining us
punters,
on Saturday League kickoff, just to recap the first hour, we went through both the Friday night games and also the Thursday night game as well, which I didn't think it let anyone down. It was filled with drama, we know that, but also Brandon Smith, the signing at South Sydney, the Dragons, and them cancelling any sort of try celebrations. Do you reckon they'll go back to the Roosters? Remember the Roosters went through a period when they scored a try and they'd walk park and they'd
shake each
just shook each other's hands like old school? Maybe the Dragons will do a little bit of that. Maybe they'll just do a bit of handshaking rather than celebrating.
That's all right. Just don't do the cash money one.
You are.
I am. I'm getting old.
You are a dinosaur.
No, I'm a long-suffering Dragons fan, and I want to see more wins than try celebrations.
So plenty more to come.
Right?
Yeah, absolutely. You've got every right for that.
You don't know the pain we've gone through.
Every right for that. Every right to feel that way, as a lot of Dragons fans would. Also, and Cowboys fans as well. But there's one team that will be riding high after last night because it was a gutsy win. They had come from behind, and I felt during the game they were just winning that battle in the middle through that middle part of the second half. And I was sitting there with my son watching it out at the Log Cabin in Penrith. Great pub. Sitting on the outside watching the big screen, shout out to the Log Cabin, and I said, I think the Warriors they're going to draw them back here. I think they're going to finally go right through the Roosters here. And that man would have woken up this morning a lot happier than what he was in round 1. Was not you, but the Warriors coach Andrew Webster, and he joins us across the ditch here on Saturday League Kickoff. How are you, Webby?
I've only come on this show because there's another Andrew Webster on it.
Thank you very much.
Good. I like you, mate. I like you, but this is our debut. So.
Together, broadcasting
stuff.
together.
Now, Andrew Webster, the journalist, was telling me that he receives a lot of text messages over the years from Andrew Webster, the coach. Is that vice versa, Webby?
Incorrectly.
Incorrectly, vice versa. I've had plenty of late night text messages. Hey mate, it's your shout, and I'm like, I'm in bed. I couldn't quite work that one out.
Oh, so. Too good. I was just saying before, Webby, a few years ago, Ivan sent me a whole stack of things that he wanted me to do, apparently, in grand final week that were meant for you, and I did the right thing and deleted them.
Oh, mate, well, they never found my way. No, I'm sure they did that week. I'm sure they did. Yeah.
No, it's good to have you on.
So 14-6 last night, Webby, and at one stage there, I was just saying, you would have heard me. I was saying to my son, I thought you were just starting to win back the ascendancy in the middle of that second half. Your front rows are outstanding, and in the end, would it say you're very pleased with the overall performance as a whole?
Yeah, I'm really happy with how gutsy we were. I thought the Roosters stripped them for us for numbers a few times, and I thought we battled really hard and found a way to get back and help each other and save a few tries. But yeah, I agree with you that period in the second half, I thought we did an awesome job at trying to grind out a win and then earn field position so that we could make our own luck, like that Chanel kick for himself where he regathered, and then I thought we were really dominant with field position from there, and we finished really strong and over the top and scored another one, which was awesome.
We're obviously talking a lot about the Roger Tuivasa-Sheck try saver today. How is the hammy, and that sort of epitomised the win in many ways?
Yeah, I mean that's what we're celebrating at the moment. I said to Roger this morning, I know you're gutted, mate. Obviously the injury, but that's a big moment in our season. It's only early, but I reckon after 27 rounds, we'll be still remembering that moment. So, Roger's good. We'll know more on Monday, as we all do when we get a scan. We know the extent of it, but the first 48 hours are always pretty sore, aren't they? So he's sore and sorry right now, but that's not always a true indication of how long he'll be out for.
Yeah, it was an amazing effort, wasn't it? Amazing effort, but we shouldn't be surprised, to be quite honest. As from DY on the text line here, Webby has said, can you ask Andrew Webster about sticking with Charles Nickel-Kluckstack at fullback? When many from the outside were saying, no, you've got to have Roger Tuivasa check at fullback after his efforts last night.
I'm gathering he's saying that Chance played well.
Yes, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, I thought he was awesome, mate. It was his 50th game as a Warrior. When you see 4 points on our score sheet, that's often because Chance has done a great job of our defensive numbers. He knows where to put them. He thickens up the line. He sees where the threat is. And I think that's a lot of things that fans don't see. And then off the back of it, I think he's just so tenacious. He's tough. The way he carries the ball. I think he had 3 carries in 1 set last night.
Yep.
So, we love him. And, everyone's got an opinion on the fullback thing. And Roger came here when he signed. He wanted Chance his nickname Chance to be the fullback. We want Chance to be the fullback. And we just want the best 17 we can get on the field.
Webby, how did you feel after the loss in Vegas? And you must be very pleased with the way your team's responded the last 2 Friday nights over there. But what do you put that sort of? How did you leave Vegas? And what was your thinking going into these 2 matches?
We had a really good review the morning after Vegas. The afternoon. We were on a night flight just before we got on the plane. We had a good review at the hotel, and I can remember we didn't want to be reactive. As in, it's round 1. It felt like a finals game. It felt like a big build-up to something that was really huge. You're doing promotions all week. There's heaps of fans everywhere. We thought we let ourselves down in our fans, but at the same stage, we're like, boys, all we have to do is be ourselves, and we weren't yesterday when we played in Vegas, and the boys all agreed, and they just doubled down on it. We went back to what we knew and what we wanted to do all pre-season, and it finally showed up in round 2, and we saw it again last night. So I felt really confident by the way we trained, but you just never know until you get out there, and I was really happy for the boys that they've got 2 wins on the bounce now.
Hey, Webby, I remember watching him in the junior reps at Penrith, and he always was a classy young player. Then he went through a couple of years there where he was just trying to find his way in first grade when he left Penrith to go to the Warriors. But your number 9, Wade Egan, is slowly, I think, becoming one of the elite hookers of the competition. And I know you've got to be biased, but I've got to say, when selectors sit down to talk about representative teams, I think his name will be mentioned many times for many years now.
Yeah, I agree, mate. Wade's just so crafty. It really helps when we've got players who give us quick play of the balls, and Wade's just so good off the back of it. He senses the moment and takes it. He's so fit, Wade, to be able to take those opportunities. But when he's really dangerous and he's really, really scary, he's right in the try line with his deception. I think him and Api Coruscant are by far the best at that in the competition. He makes gives a lot of our halfbacks time. A lot of players around him look better because of Wade, and I agree with you, mate. I think if the Blues or Australia, or he might switch to New Zealand if they're not careful, he's been here that long. Whoever, if he ever does get selected, which I think he should, he's going to do an awesome job.
I love a crafty 9. He's always good for a try, anytime try scorer too. Not that that's always a consideration.
I can't talk about that.
Of course you can't, but I can. Chanel, you talked about him earlier. That was such a big moment when he chased his own kick and scored. He's got so much skill, Webby. What have you seen from him? And I always think it's. I love him. I love the fact that he had the maturity at such a young age to say, you know what, I'm going to take a year off and then come back to the game. And it seems like he's starting to come. He's starting to benefit from that time off.
Yeah, well, see, the 12 months he came back, his body was in bits, basically, because he hadn't trained for 12 months. I think he was doing beach weights enjoying himself around the world rather than doing everything that you could do as an athlete. But I think mentally it's done wonders for him, as you say. I thought he's very mature, and he is a very mature guy. He's very super hungry at the moment. He's enjoying his footy. The best part we love about it, how hard he competes. I think I got asked a question last night when I left his boot, was it the right kick? But I think it only ended up being the right kick because he made it that way, and competed, and he wanted to come down with the ball and score a try at a crucial moment. But he's got skill. He's tough. Like, he's tackling, mate. He can hit, and that's the best part about him.
Now, you've got a couple of really good young ones coming through. A lot of really good young players coming through that haven't even tasted NRL yet, Webby. But the two I want to focus on, young Jacob Laban, who was 18th man last night, but also Leka Halasima, who's the 19-year-old from the local team, the Leopards there. It's you got some really good players coming off that production line, and they're getting that real early taste of NRL, which is really important early on in the season.
Yeah, I think I think the best part about the talent for those boys is that they get to train every day with our forward pack and against them. So Leka's going against Murata, Neokore. He's going against Kurt Capewell's played Origin, and so is Jacob, and another one that I think is really, really on the way up is Dimitri. So, they're getting blooded. They're getting minutes at crucial times. I thought Leka come on and change the game last night. And, I think there's a few more to come behind them, but we're not trying to rush them, but we're just trying to give them the right amount of education, I should say, or the amount of time that will let them progress at the right rate. And I just think our senior players and our forward pack just allow them to get better every day from just absolute competing at training.
Yeah, good stuff. Well, they're under a good system there, and a good coach and a good owner and a good CEO, and everything's looking good at the moment. Now, from the first 3 rounds, Webby, are you sitting back as a coach and you're watching all the other games? Is there any sort of, from a coach's perspective, that you're seeing in the game, some trends starting to emerge, whatever it may be, with other teams?
I think. I don't know if you guys hear it in the audio. I think this might bore your listeners and might be thinking, who cares? But there's a lot of
they've been listening to us for the last hour, so they'll be okay.
Well, I hered you guys gibber in the intro, so they might listen to anything at the moment. Jokes, boys. They're calling surrender a lot. So when we carry the footy, they're saying they're a little bit adjudicating it a little bit different. So I've noticed. I think early on the trend for me is that not everyone's perfect, not everyone looks slick, but if you want to play a tough brand of footy, you can work your way to win. And I'm not just saying that because I think we've done that the last 2 weeks. And then I think you'll get your blowout scores from your Brisbane Broncos and those real exciting teams. But at the moment, I think teams are trying to, the little thing I noticed, teams are trying to build their game still. And I think that's important early on. So, hope I didn't bore everyone.
No, that's interesting stuff that they're saying surrender a hell of a lot more. Just finally, Webby, you're up against the old joint next week against the West Tigers at Campbelltown Sports Stadium. Will there be any sledgy texts or calls during the week? Or
No, I'm always too scared to sledge in case it backfires on me, for one. 2, I'm not playing, so I'll stay away from the sledging. But no, and Benji would be way better at that than I am. He's pretty good. But no. Look, I've been really watching the way they play. You can see they're playing really spirited at the moment. I thought obviously they had a lot of errors last week in the first half, but they still went to half-time at 18-0 up. So they're finding a way to get things done. Tonight's game will be interesting, and we'll be watching it closely. But really excited to go to Campbelltown and face a new look at Tiger side. Hopefully it's a big crowd, and it'd be an awesome atmosphere.
Well, it's great to catch you on the day after a win, Webby. It's always great when the coaches have had a win. But Jace on the text line, he said, basically what he's saying in short is saying that last night was, in years gone by, the Warriors wouldn't have won those tight games in years before you got there, Webby, and now they're starting to win those tight games, which he's really enjoying. So 2 from the first 3, Webby. You go to Campbelltown next week, and everything's looking great at the moment. So well done on last night, pal.
I appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, Webby.
One of the great guys. Also one of the most accessible coaches in the comp.
Very much so.
Yeah.
Those Andrew Websters. They go all right.
Yeah. I was just looking at their forward pack. James Fisher-Harris, Wade Egan, Mitch Barnett. And then you got Murata Niokora, Kurt Catewell and Aaron Clark. He's just like a little burst of energy when he plays. It's a formidable forward pack.
It is. And it's like, last year was obviously a rough year for them. And I suppose the worry after what happened in Vegas was like, oh, God, what's wrong with the Warriors? We seem to do that in this game. As soon as someone loses a match by a score, we start to think, well, something must be wrong. But the way they played the last two Friday nights, they're going good.
Now, before we get to the break, I'm just going to get to a couple of texts here. Good morning, guys. Loving the show. Boys, love Saturday morning show on Fox League. Saves me from mowing the grass. So if you're just joining us for the second hour, our first hour of Saturday League kickoff is live on Fox League and also live on SEN as well. So plenty of love here for the show. Plenty more to come. Let's get to a break here on Saturday League kickoff. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster. We'll see you after the break. Thank you for joining us here on the show. Myself, Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster, and we've had a lot of interaction. We're trying to get to as many of these as we can. Jeremy says, I've been listening for the last hour and mowed the lawns. No excuses. I had to get out there. Great first hour this morning on Fox. Can confirm. Voice for audio, face for radio. Also, Damien the Putter Pest says. And Happy from Baroni Heights says, Webby is a lovely bloke. Met him in Brisbane. So easy to talk to, John says.
Thanks, John.
Hey, great show, guys.
When was that?
Great show, guys. Really enjoying it. This must go down in history. You're on TV and on radio, and I'm hanging out the washing, so I can listen to you on the radio and come back and watch it on TV. How good?
Good.
That's awesome. That's
Too
what we're
much
trying
Satts
to do.
and Webby is barely enough.
Yeah, exactly. Guys, love the show. Thoughts on the Knights today? Lots of changes for today's team. That's Aaron, the Knight from Wagga. We are going to get to those games very, very soon. Aaron, I've got to say, was it Aaron from the Knights from Wagga, I should say. And also, what else have we got? Oh, evening wankers. Now, if you're just listening, at the end of the first hour when I said coming after the break, Andrew Webster, I said Andrew Wanker, but he's not this Andrew Webster isn't one, neither is the other one from the New Zealand Warriors.
I can't help but feel like it was directed at me because you were looking directly at me when you said it.
Yeah, true. So
it will go down as one of the great moments in broadcasting history. Oh. And I just know what our colleagues at SEN are like, so it's going to get replayed over and over and over for decades to come. Bega Magpie, he says, fast becoming one of my favourite Saturday morning listens. Thank you very much, Bega Magpie, and thank you very much for everyone who's involved in the show. Payne Haas, guys, 158 said, do you agree he's going to another level? It seems as though he's going to another level. I think he's at the level. And he's doing it through Ramadan as well. So it's even more impressive what they've got to put their body through, the Muslim faith during Ramadan as well, especially if you're playing a sport. That's right. Now, so this is a bit of an emotional part of the show where I wanted to talk to you. It's 2 years on Thursday since your great father, John, passed away. Yeah, just gone, yeah. Yeah, how are you feeling? Oh, you know what, this week. I drive past the street where he's living every day to go to the studio to do the show each night, the Sports Day show. And so every time I drive past that street, I used to drive down that street, go and say g'day to him, and then I'd go back onto the main road and go again. It was only like a 30-second off the main street. So I still get quite, there's a knot in my stomach every time I drive past that street, Webby. Yeah. And then on Thursday, I went to a very good friend of mine's father who passed away, and I was at the funeral on Thursday, and I was sitting there looking at the coffin. I had to walk out halfway through because I started getting a little bit emotional. It was a little bit selfish, actually. I was thinking about my own situation, and my friend was going through the same. So I sort of walked outside and had to try and gather my thoughts a little bit, and then Blake Solly, who I've got to say is not only one of the great operators, he's just one of the great humans in rugby league. Yes. The CEO of South Sydney. He rang me last week and he said, hey Satts, a couple of weeks after your dad passed away, remember Dad always wanted some of his ashes spread on Redfern Oval. And so we did that. Bobby McCarthy and Ron Coote and George Piggins spreaded his ashes. Actually, during that 2 years ago, when he spread the ashes, the wind got the dust of the ashes and just hit Cameron Murray in the face. He swallowed pretty much all of the dust. So I went and put money. Big Lebowski. I went and put money on him to be a Clive Churchill medal winner in the ground. I thought that's a sign. That's a sign. 13. He wore 13. Dad wore 13. As we know, they didn't make the finals. But Blake Solly said to me, we've still got some of the ashes because we always wanted to spread them on our new spiritual home, which is Heffron Park at Maroubra. So, I went out yesterday, Webby, and we spread the ashes on Heffron Park. Beautiful. Yeah. And what was that moment like? Who was there?
There was the players that just finished training. They're all going through their rehab, and Shannon Donato and Jason Clark, who's their footy manager, said, "Oh, we'll get the players out." And I said, "No, they got bigger fish to fry." Pardon the interruption, because they're playing the Sharks. But I said, "Don't let them do what they're doing." And I said, "But all the executive committee came out, and Cam Murray was there. He's got his leg in a boot from the ruptured Achilles. He's riding around one of those scooters with his leg rested on it, and he said, "I'll come out." So he came out, and I just said to Cam, I said, "Cam, I'm sorry to put this on you, but," and Blake said a beautiful speech about Dad and how important he was to the club, and I just said, "Cam, what my dad loved was the number 13 jersey at South Sydney. He loved it more than anything. He only kept one South Sydney jersey. That was the one that he broke his jaw in because he went to the hospital in it. He used to give his jersey, shorts and socks to the guy that worked on the gate at Redfern Oval every year. And so he kept that one, but that's a whole nother story, that one that we'll get into another time. But he loved that 13 jersey, and I said to Cam, Cam, he loved 13 jersey. He loved nothing more than the 13 jersey actually being the captain of the club as well. And for a kid that loves this club as much as he did, would you help spread the ashes?" And I don't know how he felt, but it was unexpected. But I'm so glad that he took time to come out, and he played a role in doing that because he's a proud South Sydney kid.
How good.
Yeah.
How you must be overwhelmed with the respect and the love that's been shown for your dad since his passing.
Yeah, and just, he left such a great legacy. One, the way he played, the way he led, because he went down as a boy, he became a man. But he became a great leader, and from that he became a really good businessman. But the amount of people that come up to me, Webby, and say, I was in a jam one day and your dad helped me. Just
Wow.
a general person in the street that goes, "Your dad was so good to me."
That was the man that he was.
Yeah, he left a great legacy, just the way you should treat people. So yesterday was it was really emotional for me. But I just want to say thank you to Shannon Donato, Blake Solly, Jeremy Monaghan at South, Jason Clark, Cam Murray, all their executive committee out there that made it happen yesterday. Because it's been 2 years. It's not really an anniversary for anyone else. It is for me, the family.
It always will be for you.
But for him to
you
step
and your
out,
family, yeah.
So, yeah,
Very
thank you.
good.
Thank you, Webby. I
No.
appreciate it.
He produced a great son too. So thank you for sharing that with us.
No, thank you very much. To our listeners, if you want to get involved in the show, 0457 736 736. And if you want to give us a call also, 1300 01 1170. Let's get to the news. Scott Sattler, Andrew Webster here. We're on a Saturday morning with Saturday League kickoff, and plenty of text messages coming through. We love the interaction on the show each and every day. 0457 736 736. We're going to get through the Saturday previews of the 3 games today, and the Sharks and Rabbitohs game, which is live coverage from SEN League at 2 p.m. today with Brenton Speed. I think he's one of the great callers in rugby league, in Australian sport, I've got to say. Brett Noddy Kamali and the Scope, Justin Horro, is going to join you there. Before we get to that, we did speak earlier on about Reece Walsh. He has been charged by the match review.
He has.
Yep. For a shoulder charge on Murray Tauranga. Yeah,
but it's a grade 1. He can. It's just a $3,000 fine if he takes the early plea, which I'm sure he will.
Yep.
2 matches if he contests it, but I can't see that happening.
036 says Reece Walsh, not a shoulder charge. The definition of a shoulder charge is wrong and always has been wrong. Badly worded rule. Does anyone know what a body check is? Yeah, defender simply stands their ground when an attacker is charging at them. But that's, charged with a shoulder charge, please. He said, I agree. As I said earlier on, he's coming across. He can't wrap his arms because it's not a wrapping arms around sort of tackle. He's trying to knock the arms of the opposition player so he dislodges the ball.
You know what I don't like? So they talk about the wrapping of the arm. There's always these grey areas in the game. It's not a black and white game, rugby league, and that's why we love it, and that's why we probably argue and dissect it like we do. So if we can have discretion around certain parts of the games and different interpretations of different rules, why can't we do it with the shoulder charge?
Yeah.
Because that's a case where it doesn't have to be wrapping. No need for the wrapping.
We've always had a platform to suspend players when a tackle goes wrong. So
That's right.
A shoulder charge once upon a time, I mean, if executed correctly, was actually a really good defensive tool. Unfortunately, some of them went wrong.
Do you remember why they brought it in? I remember it was the commissioner who brought it in around 2012-ish.
Yeah.
And I understand it coming in, but there was a whole spate of the shoulder charges into the head. And I remember talking to Craig Bellamy about it at the time, and he said, Well, from day one, if you hit someone in the head, it's been a penalty or a send-off or a suspension.
Exactly.
So why is it any different?
Yeah.
I just think we sort of complicate the game sometimes with the rules that we have.
I think, and the listeners that listen to Sports Day each and every week know my thoughts around, at the start of the season, we're losing a lot of players to injury, which happens at the start of every season.
Yeah.
And then we're sitting players out for 1 and 2 weeks for careless tackles, like ones that early on in the season when your timing's out. And so we're eradicating a lot of players and having NRL teams dip into, like the Roosters last week, great win, but having to dip into their reserves really early.
Concreters coming off 12-hour
What
shift
about
to play games.
What about that story?
Unbelievable. And then he's back on the job site the next day.
Him turning up to training in his high vis and his work boots with concrete all over him.
Yes.
Everyone else has been drinking at cafes and training full time. And
Well, then the Roosters, they probably would be at cafes.
Yeah, they would
a
be.
macchiato here or there.
Let's get into SEN League's coverage
An
of
activated
Saturday. Like I
charcoal
said,
water
the
or something,
Sharks.
probably.
Have you seen down in Melbourne? There's a cafe that has breast milk. Advertises breast milk for the colostrum.
Really?
Yeah. Yes. It could only
How do
happen
they-
in Melbourne. It can only happen in Melbourne.
Oh, my God.
Yeah.
I don't even know where to go there.
I know. Sharks versus Rabbitohs are the first game this afternoon, 3 p.m. Eastern Daylight Standard Time, or Daylight Saving Time. As I said earlier on, you can catch that on SEN League Live from 2 p.m. Bretton Speed, Brett Camorley, Justin Horro. So the Bunnies going for 3-0.
I think they might hit the wall
you think
in this
so?
match. I just think the Sharks have got too much class across the board. I know Jack Whiten's back. But I wasn't overly impressed with the Rabbitohs last weekend against the Dragons. I thought that was the Dragons had chances there late to ice it and they couldn't do it. And then Humphreys just nice casual little left foot field goal to win the game.
Do you know, if South will win this game, and it's so Wayne Bennett-like, for South to win this game, they've got to almost, I hate using the word bore, but just bore their opposition throughout the game. And what I mean by that is the Sharks sometimes get frustrated when they can't blow teams off the park.
Yeah.
And that's not what Craig Fitzgibbon's about, because he wasn't that way as a player. He was, if you asked Craig Fitzgibbon to play for a week, he would have said, can we get an 8th day? Like, he's just such the ultimate competitor.
He was.
Fitzy.
And I tell you what, if you look at him now, I had lunch with him a while ago, without sounding like I'm dropping names. He looks like he could still play.
Yeah,
He looks fit as a fiddle.
You know he's a brown belt in jiu-jitsu.
I did not know
Yeah,
that.
yeah, he's not far away from a black belt.
We'll definitely keep that in mind next time I write a scathing Sharks.
So anyone
article.
who's late to training, apparently they've got to do what they call a roll, like a roll with Fitzy. Yeah.
I never knew.
Yeah.
That's a great story.
Yeah. So there you go. See, I'm always
Okay, look at
giving
that.
you ideas. Can you
What
write
else
that down
what
in your
else he
notes?
got?
Yeah.
Additional reporting, Scott Sattler.
So with the Sharks, I think that it's not the coaching. It's some of their players. They want to blow teams off the park rather than get into the grind. Whereas I think South Sydney, they're happy to get in the grind. They did it last week, and they showed really good patience to sort of get themselves in the game and then ice it through Jamie Humphreys. So that's the one thing that I fear for Sharks, that they'll get frustrated that the South won't go away.
That's right. That's right. But they should win Cronulla, you would think. But $1.11 they are with the bookmakers.
Makali Ravalawa is making his debut for the
Straight back in,
South. Yeah.
straight on the wing. So I'll be interested to see how.
I saw him
how he
yesterday when
goes.
I was at Heffron Park.
How
They're
was
all
he?
getting their massages and stuff. He looks like there's been a slab of granite, and they've just gone and they've just chipped away at it. He is
He's
just rock solid.
Yeah, he's a chunky thing, isn't he?
Good player. You're a Saints fan.
I am. He had
He's
an
been rocks and diamonds there.
He's got a few errors in him, but
Yeah.
he plenty of energy when he's got the ball.
Yep.
Is that
James,
what they say these days? Is that the new term? Energy.
energy.
Lots of energy.
Yeah.
I feel like I've said it a few times today.
Hey, James from Mango Hill says the big increase in penalty for shoulder charges brought in after Frankie Molo and the sad passing of James Ackerman in the Queensland Cup. Passed away. A little bit like Phil Hughes was hit by a shoulder in the side of his neck and passed away on the field. And it was all around that
The
sort of
commission
time.
was very conscious about litigation.
Yep, exactly. Second game, 5:30. Dolphins, 5:30 daylight saving time, 4:30 in Queensland. Dolphins versus West Tigers. KO Stadium sold out. Now, admittedly,
really?
it is like, what is it, 12 or 13,000, I think it is. But in saying that, it's a great spectacle when any ground is sold out. So Tigers off a big win versus the Eels. That'll give them a bit of confidence.
The scoreline here could be 42-40
You're right,
to one team.
100%.
It could be a dead set triathlon. Well, I'm sure they'll appreciate being home, the Dolphins, after being on the road for the first two. You look at their team; it's not terrible. They've got they've got a few back.
647. With the list the Dolphins have, they should be a lot better than what they're putting out there at the moment.
Thank you, 647.
Well, 647. I'm actually saying that I'm giving them a pass mark week one, when they had to sort of uproot themselves and go to Sydney, and there's all this talk around partners not being happy that they're being taken away during the cyclone, whatever it may be.
Disrupted start.
Yeah, but exactly right. On paper, they have a finals team, purely on paper.
They do.
Yeah.
They do. What's our assessment of the Tigers after their win last week?
What I loved about them last week is they didn't get carried away with winning by 12 or 14. They went on with it.
That's right.
Yeah, and I think that's on the back of Lachie Galvin and Jerome Luai. But Jerome's a guy that, we talk about Christian Tuipulotu and celebrating, and that's what gets him going. Jerome Luai, what gets him going is getting under the skin of the opposition.
Exactly.
He'll pick on one player and he'll go after him.
Sure.
And it's nothing personal, but he just knows that that's what's going to make him play well. So while he's doing that, and Lachie Galvin's this young kid that's he's brash, he's not scared of anything. Well, you've got two players that are thinking that way. One guy that's willing to get into the battle, one kid that's just willing to play this open style of entertaining rugby league. I think we're going to see a huge improvement from the Tigers this year.
Yeah, it's only early days. I liked how Jerome sort of controlled that game last week in the second half.
Yep.
I thought it was really telling. It was different from him. I remember in commentary for Fox, Cooper Cronk was saying, I'd like to see him, the old Jerome Luai running the ball a lot more. But I'm sure that'll come. But he just seemed like a lot more mature,
He did.
controlling half, didn't he?
I rang Cooper last week talking about this whole Dylan Brown thing. Can he go from a 6 to a 7? You weren't a recognised number 7. Neither was Jerome Hughes. Neither was Craig Gower coming through. They just played what was in front of them. But then they had to change and be these controlling halves. And I was talking to him about it, and he said, the big challenge for Jerome is going to be handling the ball 40 times a game, for argument's sake, at Penrith. Now he's going to handle it 60 times a game. Is it going to take away from other areas? So I think he's sort of got that blasé personality, but hasn't he?
He does.
Yeah.
He does. What are we thinking of with Galvin? In terms of contract negotiations,
I don't think he'll get to November 1.
You think it'll be done before then?
You
think the Tigers will secure him before
then?
then?
I think I'm saying that in pure faith of Shane Richardson, because I just know how he can sell. He can sell a dream.
He can sell
a dream. He's no better than anyone else I've ever seen. So I think better than anyone else I've ever seen, I should say. But I don't think he gets to November 1. I think he tables an offer. But more importantly, I think Shane Richardson gets on really well with the family as well.
He does. He does. That's the big benefit with this situation with Lachlan Galvin. I suppose like all of it though, it comes down to money.
Yeah, exactly.
And that's what I find. I think Lachlan Galvin deserves as much money as he can, but is he $1 million player? Is he a $1.2 million player?
Well, they're paying on potential now.
We had this discussion last week. You're right. It's like the market is because the market has to happen so far in advance of when they come off contract. You're paying them for all these huge amounts of money.
Yep.
That said, if you're going to throw let's just say $1 million at Lachie Galvin, he's probably the player you do it to.
Yep, he gets it, and I think he deserves it. I wouldn't be a 10-year. I'd say we're going to offer you 5 years, and then when you come off after 5 years, you're going to be worth a hell of a lot more. Hey, before we get to the break, let's get to our last game for Saturday night. 7:35 New South Wales time, and it's 6:35 Queensland time. Titans up against the Knights, Seabus Super Stadium. Dylan Lucas out, which is a big out. And onto the bench comes Jermaine McEwen. Now, I've seen this young kid play in SG Ball. Makes his debut on the bench. Former SG Ball Player of the Year, I'm led to believe, from memory. He's a good young player, actually. A couple of really good young forwards coming off the production line there. But I'm going to this game tonight purely to watch Kalen Ponga live. You have to. He's in rare form, isn't he? Yeah. They're also missing Kai Pearce-Paul and Leo Thompson. Yes. So there's holes in their forward pack. The Knights. We don't know about Jacob Saifidi. He has been named still. He's been named, but he was in doubt, so I suppose we'll know when they release the team list tonight. I thought the Titans were actually okay there in the second half against the Dogs. They showed something. They're good with the ball. It's just that defence that's the problem. It shows how important. Some players have got really important players that that are like the soul of their team. When Matty Burton went off, that team went from an 8.5 down to about a 6. They've got to try and rectify that somehow. They're going to miss both he and Billy Army now.
What do you think? What do you think of the Titans? Though?
They're entertaining.
They're entertaining. They're good to watch.
They were pretty ordinary last week, but I couldn't take my eyes off of them. If that makes sense.
Yes.
Yeah.
They're one of those teams where there's something funky is going to happen.
Yep. Morning, gents. Loving the new show, Canara Cowboy says in Townsville. Though my Cowboys were better last night, but still have a way to go. Yeah, you're right, Canara, but there's some good signs there last night. G'day, Shaggers. Name the class players over South, Walker, Keanu. Oh, no, it's Keon Kulamatani, Arrow, Whiten, Graham, Gray, Mumzulis. Yeah. Sharks are nothing to South, he's saying. Reptiles are South fan.
Good on you, yeah. Good on you, Reptile.
Yep. Hey, let's get to a break here on Saturday League kickoff. And on the other side, we're going to get to as many of your texts as we can.